A 45-year-old spacecraft just sent back a repeating signal so steady and strange that some scientists think it could be coming from a built object, maybe even alien. A long-dead NASA satellite from the 60s somehow blasted out a split-second burst so powerful it drowned out the sky, and no one could explain how. And deep in our galaxy, an object 15,000 light-years away is firing off X-rays and radio waves, but now, those signals are mysteriously fading. These are unexplained things satellites have detected from space. Voyager 1 has been cruising through space for over 45 years, way past the planets it was meant to study originally, now sending back data from interstellar space, and recently scientists got a strange signal from it. It's unlike anything they've seen before. Normally Voyager picks up things like cosmic rays or solar wind, but this new signal is consistent and strange enough to make researchers wonder if it's coming from some kind of unknown object. It's not just random noise, it repeats, so what could it be? Well, the signal is strong and again, it's steady, which means it's possible it could be something built. Maybe by an advanced alien civilization. Some say it could be some sort of lighthouse, essentially, floating in space designed to send out signals. Voyager 1 is super far away, about 22.5 billion kilometers, and its instruments weren't designed for this kind of research. Plus, the data can get messy from cosmic interference. NASA's mission team is going slow, carefully checking everything before jumping to any conclusions. If this really is alien technology, though, it would obviously be one of the biggest discoveries ever. It could completely change how we think about alien life in the universe and open up a whole new chapter for space exploration. Fingers crossed. This is pretty cool. Back in June of 2024, astronomers in Australia thought they'd caught one of the rarest, most mysterious signals in the universe, a fast radio burst, or FRB. Now, FRBs are insanely powerful blasts of radio waves that usually come from billions of light years away. We still don't know for sure what causes them. This one lasted just 30 nanoseconds, but it was so strong it drowned out everything else in the sky. Naturally, scientists were hyped. Turns out, this mystery from deep space came from a dead NASA satellite launched in 1964 called Relay 2, which stopped working in the mid-60s and has just been drifting around ever since. It's part of space history, said researcher Clancy James. We're also sure this wasn't an intentional transmission. So basically, the satellite systems couldn't have made that signal on its own, even when it was brand new. So how did it happen? The team's best guess is either electrostatic discharge, which is basically the space version of rubbing your socks on the carpet and zapping yourself, or they think it could be a micrometeorite hit, a tiny speck of space dust smashing into the satellite at crazy high speeds, creating a burst of energy. Problem is, neither explanation perfectly matches what they saw. The burst was too short and just too weird, so at this point, they're still not sure. In 2022, astronomers picked up a strange object, now called ASKAP J1-832-0911, sitting about 15,000 light years away. Every 44 minutes, like clockwork, it switches on for 2 minutes and blasts out radio waves. The first signals were caught by Australia's ASKAP telescope. NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory happened to be looking at the exact same spot and found it wasn't just radio waves. This thing was shooting out X-rays as well. That's a first for this type of object, known as an LPT, or long period transient. Basically, a space object that sends out regular bursts of energy, sometimes hours apart. Over the next few months, scientists kept watching and saw something they'd never seen before in our galaxy. The X-rays and radio waves started fading away. No one knows why. This object is unlike anything we've seen before, said Dr. Ziteng Wang from Curtin University. Scientists have some theories, but nothing concrete. As co-author Dr. Tongo Bao said, though, finding a mystery like this isn't frustrating. It's what makes science exciting. On January 9th, 2024, China launched the Einstein Probe, an X-ray hunting space telescope. Leading the study was Dr. Wenda Zheng, a researcher from the National Astronomical Observatory. Even before the probe officially got to work, it started finding some weird stuff. About 60 powerful space explosions, nearly 500 flares from stars, and a gamma ray blast from way back in the early universe. But one event really stood out, EP240408A. It wasn't a supernova, a gamma ray burst, or any of the usual suspects. Instead, telescopes caught a sudden blast of high-energy X-rays. with no visible light at all. Whatever caused it was powerful enough to register on X-ray detectors, but invisible to the naked eye. Oh, and at one point it blasted out a 12-second flare that was 300 times brighter than its usual glow. And I mean bright in X-ray terms. Detectors that measure X-rays saw a huge spike, but human eyes or regular cameras still couldn't see anything. But what was this thing? Well, according to Dr. Zhang's team, they think it could be something entirely new. Astronomers recently found something pretty strange while digging through 13 years of data from NASA's Fermi Gamma Ray Space Telescope. They spotted a gamma ray signal coming from outside our Milky Way, and they hadn't even been looking for it. Alexander Kalichki, part of the team behind the find, called it a, quote, completely serendipitous discovery. We found a much stronger signal and in a different part of the sky than the one we were looking for, end quote. The signal shows a dipole pattern, basically more gamma rays coming from one side of the sky and fewer from the other. This is similar to a pattern seen in the cosmic microwave background, which is leftover light from the Big Bang. But this one is 10 times stronger and pointed way off from where it should be. What makes it even more interesting is that it lines up with where another mystery shows up: ultra-high energy cosmic rays. These are supercharged particles zooming through space, and since 2017, the Pierre Auger Observatory has been tracking them. The gamma rays and cosmic rays, they seem to be coming from the same spot, so what's behind it all? That's the mystery. Astronomers finally figured out the source of a weird repeating radio signal that's been puzzling them since it was first noticed last year. The signal pulses every 2 hours and comes from a strange binary system called ILTJ1101, about 1600 light years away in the direction of the Big Dipper. What's causing it? A dead star called the white dwarf and its red dwarf companion. The white dwarf has an extremely strong magnetic field. As the two stars orbit each other closely, the white dwarf's magnetic field interacts with the material from the red dwarf, producing powerful bursts of radio waves. The signal was first spotted in data from 2015 by Iris de Ruyter from the University of Sydney. She found 6 more pulses after that first one, all spaced out by exactly 2 hours. These pulses lasted seconds to minutes and look similar to fast radio bursts, but they're way less energetic and much slower. The pair whip around each other every 125.5 minutes, and the red dwarf's back and forth movement matches the timing of the pulses perfectly. The team used telescopes in Arizona and Texas to break down the light from the red dwarf and confirm this. They're now planning to study the system's ultraviolet light to learn more about how these two stars interact. More than 60 years after the search for extraterrestrial intelligence officially began with Project Ozma in 1960, scientists are still scanning the skies for signs of alien life. NASA veteran Richard H. Stanton carried out a multi-year search of over 1,300 stars using a small telescope in California. Instead of listening for radio waves like most SETI projects, he looked for super fast flashes of light that he figured could be signs of laser communication from possibly alien civilizations. On May 14, 2023, Stanton spotted something odd from a star called HD 89389, about 100 light years away. He detected 2 nearly identical flashes, just 4.4 seconds apart. The star's light got brighter, then dimmer, then brighter again, all within 0.2 seconds. Stanton said, "How do you make a star over 1 million kilometers across partially disappear in 1/10 of a second?" Digging through old data, Stanton found a similar pulse from 2019 around another sun-like star, 51 Pegasi, the first star known to host an exoplanet. That earlier signal was dismissed as bird interference, but now that explanation may not hold up. Whether this is alien technology or some unknown natural phenomenon is still a mystery, but Stanton wants to use multiple telescopes spaced apart to track these pulses better. July 18th, 2025, NASA astronaut Nicole Vapor Ayers snapped a stunning photo of a rare lightning-related event called a sprite from the International Space Station, which orbits about 250 miles above Earth. Sprites are a type of transient luminous event, or TLE, brief flashes of red light that shoot up into the upper atmosphere above thunderstorms. Ayers explained on social media, sprites happen above the clouds and are triggered by intense electrical activity and the thunderstorms below, end quote. These things are pretty wild to see. NASA says sprites are some of the most visually striking and least understood electrical phenomena in our atmosphere. What makes Ayers Ayer's photo so impressive is that the sprite was massive, blazing above the clouds over Mexico and the United States, with city lights glowing below. I mean, just look at the images, it's amazing. NASA's also been running the Sprite-tacular Citizen Science Project, encouraging people on the ground to share their photos of sprites to help figure them out. And Ayer says, "We have a great view above the clouds, so scientists can use these types of pictures to better understand the formation, characteristics, and relationship of TLEs to thunderstorms." So there's this weird thing happening with spacecraft flying past Earth. You might remember the Pioneer anomaly from about 10 years ago. That's when the Pioneer 10 and 11 spacecraft, which were zooming out of the solar system, started acting a little strange. They seemed to be pulled a tiny bit toward the sun, kind of like an invisible force was tugging on them. Now, NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory astronomer John Anderson and his team found something similar with other spacecraft. 5 out of 6 deep space probes, including Galileo, Rosetta, Cassini, and Near, all showed weird speed changes during their Earth flybys. These craft either sped up or slowed down just a smidge compared to what was expected. Anderson said, "I am feeling both humble and perplexed by this. There is something very strange going on with spacecraft motions. We have no convincing explanation." End quote. The one probe without the oddity, Messinger, flew past Earth with a very symmetrical path around the equator. Anderson thinks the anomaly might be connected to Earth's rotation, because the other weird flybys had incoming and outgoing paths that weren't balanced around the equator. These craft are on unbound orbits, meaning they aren't stuck orbiting Earth or the Sun, but are heading off into space, which is pretty rare. Anderson suspects that when spacecraft do this, something odd might happen that current physics just doesn't explain. He and his team are still digging, planning to check Rosetta's next Earth flyby on November 13th of 2025, and even thinking about a dedicated mission to study this mystery. As Montana State physicist Ronald Hellings said, "There's definitely something going on. Whether it's new physics or a modeling problem is still unknown." The Black Knight satellite is a strange object that's been part of space lore since the 50s. It first caught attention when strange radio signals were picked up by amateur radio operators in early satellite. Then in the early 60s, NASA astronauts aboard missions like Gemini and later the Space Shuttle spotted unidentified objects in orbit that some thought could be this so-called satellite. The story goes the Black Knight has been orbiting Earth for about 13,000 years. Some people think it's an alien probe left here to watch us, which is why the signals and photos don't match any known spacecraft or space debris. But folks at NASA usually write it off as space debris. Thermal blankets lost during missions and stuff like that, but it's a fun idea. An ancient alien satellite that's been observing us for thousands of years for who knows what reason. With all that said, I've been your host James. I'll catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.